Rotman MBA application, we really have four criteria for assessment. The first is what we call intellectual horsepower. So that is basically assessing a candidate's academic ability. And the components of that section are the GMAT or the GRE score, and the undergraduate, this undergraduate GPA. So that's what we classify as intellectual capacity or intellectual horsepower. The second component of the application, or second component of assessment, is communication and presence. So we have several, different ways of judging candidates' communication ability and interpersonal skills. We have video essays that are part of the application, a timed written essay, which is a lot like the AWA section of the GMAT, and the obviously the written essay that's part of the application, as well as the admission interview. So we have we assess a candidate's communication ability, both written and verbal. The third component of the application is work experience and impact. So this is where we look for a candidate's leadership potential. We look at the work that they've done prior to coming into the program. The number of years position is not as important as the quality of the work experience. So we look at from the time the candidate started working till the time they applied to the MBA, how have their job responsibilities changed? Have they sort of evolved? Have their responsibilities progressed? What is the value? What value have they brought to the team or the organization that they work for? So that's where we really see the candidates' work experience and the impact that they've had at work prior to coming to Rotman. And the last sort of criteria for admission is what we call spike factor. So this is quite unique to Rotman. It's where we judge or assess the candidates' extracurricular activities, any personal or professional accomplishments that they've had in their career or in their life. And what makes them interesting, any hobbies or interests that they have, and what makes them an individual, what makes them unique, and what are they passionate about, and what are they motivated by. So that's essentially what we look for in our application. International applications have, I think since 2016, have increased year over year by about 20 to 30%, which is quite significant. What it means for international candidates, it is getting more competitive. And so my only recommendation to international applicants would be to apply as early as possible. We have 4 rounds of admission. I would not recommend applying past the second round. Even though the deadline for international students is the 3rd round of admission, I would not recommend applying past round 2, because at that point, not only is space limited in the program, also funding and scholarships are depleted by that point, because at every stage or every round, we award candidates a spot in the program as well as funding, and so there's fewer spaces and less funding available as you go later into the admission cycle. So the earlier you can apply, the better. And our first round starts almost a year, about 11 months before the actual program start date, and our rounds are pretty spread out. So we give candidates enough time to plan ahead. Give yourself enough time to take the GMAT or GRE. Take it once. If you're not happy with the score, take it again. And we give them enough time to take the tests that they need as well as submit the application. So it's just a matter of planning early. That's it. international students make up about 60% of our program. So I don't think there's differentiation between in the job opportunities for international students or domestic students, given that 90% of all our MBA students are working within about 3 to 6 months after graduation. So Canada being as it is, there is no differentiation between an international student and a domestic student, and I think the job opportunities available are available to both. In terms of, so if you're looking at the MBA program as a whole, or the MBA cohort as a whole, about 30% of the students work in finance, financial services, and banking. About 20 to 25% of the students work in consulting. Another 10 to 15% work in technology, and the other, the rest of the class work in a diverse mix of different functions, different industries. So, but consulting, finance, marketing, and technology seem to be, the most popular kind of functions or industries that students get into. For any candidates that have a CFA 3 or are a charter holder, the GMAT is waived because the GMAT, the quantitative section of the GMAT is a different difficulty level than the CFA. I mean, obviously the CFA is a lot more advanced in terms of the stats, calculus, and math and quantitative ability that's required. So if a candidate does have a CFA 3, I mean, it's kind of pointless to ask them to do the GMAT. And in terms of how they would weigh one against the other, they're weighted as someone who has a strong GMAT score, because that's what they would have. For a lot of business schools, the scholarships are based on academics. For Rotman, we look at every single thing in the application. So it gives students a bit more, we're giving them many different ways in which they can prove that they're worthy of a merit scholarship. It could be work experience, it could be their spike factor, what makes them an individual. It could also be their academics, it could be their references. I mean, we look at all of those, so it doesn't necessarily have to be heavily weighted on academics. Because I think that, candidates are more than just a number, or they're more than just what their GMAT test score is, right? So it's important to judge the entire book or the entire applicant, and not just one aspect of their application in the scholarship considering. One-on-one with students, I mean, they do the workshops as well, but they also work one-on-one with students to help them develop their interpersonal communication skills, their team management skills, their negotiation skills, presentation skills, and also self-awareness. So that's a lab that's available to students throughout the first and second year program, and it's really aimed at the soft skill development aspect of the MBA. The creative destruction lab is something different. That is very, it's an incubator for innovative technology-driven businesses. So it's a highly scalable technology companies or startups that would like to scale or bring their products or services to market. So it's a technology incubator. It's actually the largest incubator for companies that are using machine learning, AI, anywhere in the world. So if students are interested in artificial intelligence, analytics, machine learning, and they're interested in the startup ecosystem, then they can actually work with the Creative Destruction Lab during the program. focus on design thinking is, design thinking is it's a new kind of area of business which is focused on consumer-centric design. Companies taking a consumer-centric approach in designing everything from their products to their personnel to the services that they offer. Creating your business with a consumer-centric approach. So it's a little bit of it's a mix of strategy as well as design, and how that's incorporated into every aspect of the business, right from product development to planning and strategy. Who incubated his business with the help of the Creative Destruction Lab, and then also, because we have a partnership with Mars, the Mars Discovery District, which is another incubator, very close. It's close by to Rotman. These kind of partnerships help our students not only incubate businesses during the program, but also after the program. And the Creative Destruction Lab is open to anybody. It's not just open to Rotman students or Rotman alum. Any entrepreneur can present their idea to the CDL panel, the Creative Destruction Lab panel, and if their idea is accepted, then they become a part of the lab. And students that are in the program have the opportunity to work with one of the startups in the lab. So, one of our major successes was getting Chris Hadfield on board. Chris Hadfield was the first Canadian astronaut to walk on the moon. He is now a part of the lab and is working on a business revolving around the commercialization of space. So these are big ideas and require a lot of funding and a lot of research and a lot of support, and that's what the Creative Destruction Lab provides.